Wonderful. So, right guys, as we've got a few people here already, let me introduce myself formally, if you don't know me already. My name is Jacob. I am the head of the academic team at Premier TEFL. So I look after all of our assessments, all of our courses, all the materials. I email some of you if there's any issues or problems that you have. So I'd like to have a chat with you today, not only about our courses, but about TEFL in general. Give you the chance to ask any questions you might have about taking a course, about completing a course, which course to take, looking for jobs, which countries you're thinking about, maybe requirements, things like that. And I will try and tell you a few of my stories of things that have happened to me along the way when I was starting out, to give you an idea of at least my journey. Johannesburg is chilly at the moment as it's still winter here. Yes, is that a real winter, or is that one of those winters where it's 20 degrees, like the Spanish winter? The Spanish think they get winter, don't they? But it's not quite winter. We are all melting. Yes, we're absolutely melting in the heat. We are not built for it. My apartment where I live is very good in the winter, but it retains all the heat in the summer as well. Sky's melting. Laura is from England. Whereabouts are you from, Laura? I'm from near Bournemouth in the south, so at least we've got a bit of sea air down here. But I know that it's a little bit stuffy everywhere at the moment. We're just waiting for the storm to come in. We're due, for anyone that's not in England, we're due a huge storm right now, so I can't wait for it to come and just clear the air a little bit. So guys, as I said, this is going to be a Q&A session. So as I said, I'm Jacob, head of assessments and academic team at Premier TEFL. So what I'd like you to do, guys, if you've got any questions at all, put them in the chat. I'm going to ask you a question to start with. Are you TEFL qualified already? You've already got some qualification. Are you looking to get TEFL qualified? Are you just interested in what this world is and what it could offer you? What stage are you at? Are you qualified? Are you looking to qualify? Do you have a job already? Are you looking at jobs? Oh, Laura's from Nottingham. No sea near you. Oh dear, sorry about that. You have to come down south or go to one of the eastern beaches there, I think, Laura. Fantastic. Glad that's better for you, Melanie. So tell me, guys, in the chat there, are you already qualified? Are you looking to qualify? What's your status right now? I qualified originally back in 2013. The first qualification I ever did was 120-hour online, which is sort of the minimum standard for this industry. Back when I did it, there were a lot of like 20-hour, 60-hour courses, and you had to kind of just make up into 120 hours. There was a core 120, or you could make it up with various modules. The minimum industry standard is 120 hours. So with my 120-hour certificate, I managed to take myself to Thailand with my partner and walk around and find a job, find a permanent job in a private school. So back then there were much less internships. There were less kind of like route pathways into TEFL that were a little bit more tried and tested. So I was literally walking the streets in my shirt and my trousers and my tie and my smart shoes, melting in 35, 40 degrees. So hopefully these days it's a little bit easier. Right, so let's have a look. Melanie's already qualified. Linda's practically qualified. Paige is in the process of it. What qualifications? Anyone that's doing it now, are you doing 120? Is it with us? Is it with another provider? What qualifications are you doing? Rebecca's TESOL qualified, working for Dada. How is Dada at the moment, Rebecca? Are they doing okay in this kind of pandemic style world where everyone's gone online? Sky's TEFL qualified, a teaching job in the UK. Are there short-term opportunities to do in the summer break? So I can take that question for you, Sky. You know, it's a tricky one at the moment. As far as I know, the summer has collapsed as far as in person. You know, usually for anybody who's not so familiar with the TEFL world, the summer is the busiest season, as you would imagine. This is when all the students move around, all the young learners under 18s go to summer camps and summer schools, and they do it in their country, or they come to England, do it in English country or English-speaking countries, England, USA, Malta is a big one, Spain. I myself was a homestay tutor for many years, so people would come to my house and study 1-to-1, 1-to-2. But this is just collapsed over the summer. I'll tell you what I know as far as my personal experiences. The homestay companies that I've worked for, one of them has opened again for August, the other one hasn't. So some are, some are not. But as far as the big language schools and the big summer camps, I think it really depends on each organisation. A lot of them did open, but you know, for example, now Spain, if you're traveling from Spain to England, you need to quarantine again, which is a huge market. So all of that market for learners has just dried up over the summer. So it's in answer to your question, Sky, I'm sure there are short-term opportunities around, but they're few and far between. So online seems to be the place to go, at least for the immediate future. Leslie's qualified. Emmeline's looking to do a qualification. Fantastic, Emmeline. Do you know what kind of qualification you're looking for? Claire is just recently TEFL qualified. So a lot of you guys are actually qualified or nearly qualified. So you're kind of right there. You're not looking for a course. You're already doing a course. So are you all looking for jobs? How's the job hunt going right now? Are you teaching online mostly? That seems to be what everyone's doing right now. Paige just finished the 30-hour online teaching course and on the 4th module of 120. Well done, Paige. Good job. Teachers leading students. I've been lucky so far. Yeah, I've heard that across many platforms. I think the difficulty is for online. There are a lot of people who are forced online, which does saturate it a little bit. But at the same time, there are more learners online. So that's got to catch up. You know, the Chinese market's been getting bigger and bigger for years because they love their after-school clubs and their extracurricular learning and their extra classes, and they do it not just for English but for maths and science and all sorts of subjects, you know. So it's there, it's all going to catch up, and now there's more companies springing up, so I think it will come back to us for sure, maybe next year, but good to know in the future. Taking 120 hour, good, fantastic. Thank you for all your feedback, guys. So tell me, what are your questions? What's really bothering you? Is it looking for work? Is it when to travel or when to look for that physical job again? Is it, you know, working out what your next step is? What's really troubling you? What do you want to know the answer to today? I will tell you a little bit about when I first qualified. So I did my 120 hour online, went to Thailand, walked around, found a job after a couple of weeks, and then just started, you know, and walked into the school the first day, and I met the director, who actually owned about 13 schools in the region. So he'd come in to say hello and to meet me, and he was very nice, and they gave me my timetable, and this was about 8:15, 8:20 on a Monday morning, and the first lesson was 8:45. And I was a bit nervous about starting. In Thailand, all the kids line up outside, and then they go into a big hall, and then there is the national anthem at 8 o'clock. They do a little prayer, that kind of thing. So you see all the students, they're all looking at you, you know, a new person, new teacher. I got my timetable and it said, Jacob, 8:45, grade 7, I think it was, music. And I looked at it. I said to my teacher manager, I said, excuse me, it says music. She said, yeah, that's fine, that's fine. And I knew that I was going to teach them other subjects because it was an English program, so these students learn most of their normal subjects through English. But I thought I was mostly going to do English, not, you know, other subjects, maybe a few science and that, because I have a degree in engineering originally. And I had to do music for the very first lesson. She said, oh, it's okay, no problem. You can just talk about music in English to them. So my very first lesson, I had 20 minutes to prepare roughly, a lesson on music, and I am probably the least musical person in the whole world. I love listening to music, but I cannot play any music, and I cannot draw anything nice or anything creative like that. So I had to go there, and I was thinking, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And this was my first lesson on how to adapt in the classroom, how to adapt to a stressful situation or to an unknown situation, because it doesn't really matter how much you plan. Sometimes more often than not, but at some point you'll always find that there's a collapse in your plans, that they don't work, that the level is wrong, that the type of class is wrong, there's a problem on your schedule, on your timetable. So I came up with a class about how music gives us emotions. So I elicited, which means like try to ask questions to get them to give me ideas about What was like a fast music make you feel? And when would you listen to it? What would a slow music make you feel? What do you listen to when you're happy, when you're sad? And then we pulled out some emotions, some adjectives and things like that. So I really quickly had to adapt to this new style of teaching English through music. But they didn't give me any warning at all, unfortunately, on that one. But it's a good lesson that you won't always be able to plan things. B, be prepared to be flexible and throw all your plans out the window. And C, just keep on smiling, because they were just happy to see a new teacher. It's just a new face and they just wanted something like that. Okay, let me have a look at some of these questions and some of these comments that have been coming in. Melanie's been looking online, doesn't have a degree and seems to be a challenge. Yes, so that's a difficult one. You know, there are different types of English teaching jobs, especially online, and some require you to be a native speaker, some don't. Some require a degree, some don't. It largely comes down to the nationality of the company. So, for example, a law was passed 2.5 years ago in China, where all English teachers had to have at least a bachelor's degree in something. Could be anything, but in something. So if you're going for a Chinese company, then if you don't have a degree, then that's not going to work unless you're working towards one. I think if you're like currently doing a degree, then that's okay. But then other countries don't seem to mind that. For example, Latin-based countries, South American-based companies, some European countries, we place a little bit more emphasis on experience in some. But I understand that it's a difficult one. Usually, they're pretty upfront about what they want. I'm pretty sure, maybe someone at Premier TEFL can help me with a link. I'm pretty sure we have a page on our website which says about companies that are hiring online and the requirements. It says which ones need a degree, which ones don't, which ones need a certain passport, which ones don't. I hope I pronounce your name right, Merid. Is currently teaching English in Europe, COVID friendly, of course, very good. Glad to be seeing Premier TEFL's advice and posts. Good, I'm glad we're of help. And Merid, if you have any questions, feel free to put it in to the chat there. What countries in Asia don't need you to have a degree in order to teach online? Well, like I said, definitely China does. Definitely China does. China is the big one. You know, there's 1.4 billion people or more, and they're all super into education. So that is the huge one. But there are others. Don't hold me to it, but check out, there are Japanese platforms, there are Korean platforms. I should imagine there is a variety of requirements for those. There are, I know of a few, for example, an Indonesian-based one. There's some smaller Thai-based ones. Any advice on places in Europe to teach? I'm currently with Angloville. That's from Merid again. So, places to teach. I mean, the big one in Europe is Spain. Everyone goes to Spain. It's a great place to start. It's a fantastic place to start. They take a lot of non-experienced teachers. It's kind of a typical place where teachers would cut their teeth, as the phrase goes. Oh, good. Premier TEFL's put the online teaching guide. Thank you very much, Premier TEFL. Yes, Spain is a classic first place to go. Or even if you're established, it's not only the first port of call. But I definitely recommend Spain. Half the people that freelance for Premier TEFL living in Spain and telling us how cold it is over there, especially in the winter. We don't talk to them in the winter. Italy is another big one. Obviously pre-COVID, I'm not sure what their rules are right now, but I think they're coming out of it a bit better than the UK at least. Poland is a very good place to start off. Wages are low, but the cost of living is low. What you'll typically get in Poland is something around 3,500 zloty a month, which in British pounds is about 750, 800 pounds. So you're looking at about $1,000, 1,100 US dollars, 1,000 euros, something like that. No, about 900 euros. But in Poland, they tend to give you free accommodation, make sure you get that. Either shared, or sometimes you get your own apartment completely, so you don't have to pay for anything. And they do a lot of like survival Polish lessons, so they'll get you up to kind of a low intermediate or a high elementary Polish speaker, which is a great place to start as well. So, you know, when you look at the job salaries and things like that, you have to compare it against what the cost of living is. And things like having free accommodation, that's going to cut your costs enormously. I know they do that in Spain sometimes as well. In an online demo video, this is from Linda, one must always be over the top when presenting. When teaching little kids, you probably need to be over the top. Okay, yeah, so for anybody who's thinking of teaching online or actually teaching online or has seen some of the videos that we do about teaching online, you know, when you teach children, especially young children, you need to keep their attention. If you sit like this for the whole time and you're asking about the grammar rules and do question 5, you're going to lose them like that. So a lot of the online companies are really big on TPR, total physical response. Like, it's big, it's small, it's happy, it's sad, you know. You don't have to be a clown, you know. I've taught online. I have more than 5,000 hours teaching online. I've taught every type of person you can imagine. The youngest was 3, the oldest was 90. Business people, students, young kids, older teens, adults, exams, everything. I'm not a big jump around the room with puppets kind of person. I'm a little bit more serious. I prefer a grammatical discussion about rules and about structures and help you get you through your IELTS. That's kind of like my type or style, hence why I'm an assessor, really. But some people love the jumping around and the laughing and the puppets and all that. I never pushed myself so far that I really felt uncomfortable. You know, with little kids, you do have to just be more there. You've got that much of the screen to keep their attention, and especially if they're low level, you need to do that. What did I do? I had props, things that I didn't have to jump around like a monkey all the time, but I had a set of flashcards for animals, a set of flashcards for emotions. I had some generic toys around me. I always had 4 balls from my toddler's ball pit of different colours. I had a little animal that I would pull up. One day I had the 3-year-old boy, and he loved police cars because his dad was a policeman in China. So I ran off, said, wait there, wait, and I ran off. I ran to my son's room and got the police car, the really loud one with the siren on it. So you don't have to necessarily do that, but if you do teach children, that is a possibility. You're going to at least have to animate yourself a little bit to get through to them. It's the same as, if you were teaching a class of students. I taught in Thailand 30 6-year-olds, so a group of 6-year-olds, 30 of them, and I tell you what, they go from completely enthralled and doing a task. You look at there and you look back, and they're all like fighting, or they're all at the other side of the room, or they've all decided to colour. And you don't know why. So you really need to keep their attention. But you learn your style. I always say play to your strengths. So my strength was not jumping around the room, but I did enough to try and keep people happy. I made sure that I had things around me. So like, hey, look at this, it's black. Oh, look, water, it's round, things like that. Simple things. I'd look over the lesson first and just prepare. So you don't need to go over the top, but you would need to probably do some kind of TPR, total physical response, with the younger learners. But if that's not for you, Rebecca, Linda, there are platforms where you can just teach adults, just do business, just teach adults, whatever it is. So that's what I would look for. Right, let's have a look at some more questions down here. Doing business English online, clearest online teaching course for Premier. Yeah, that's fine. All these extra little courses that we offer and other people offer, Claire, like business English and online teaching, what they do is they just give you an insight into this world and the specialisms. Business is a huge part of TEFL. You may never do it, but if you ever go private, if you ever look for clients yourself online or anything like that, this is a huge part of the TEFL market, because people need to, Mr. X in China needs to speak to Mr. Y in Malaysia, so they speak English, and it's all about business, so that's really important. So yeah, the little the shorter courses, they give you an insight into how that exam works, or how to structure a business course separately. So business, for example, is much more focused on functions. So like a business person would prefer to learn how to make a phone call, and if there's any grammar or vocabulary incidentally, then they'll learn that, but they don't want to sit down and learn the past continuous. They prefer to say, right, how do we do a business meeting? How can I do a good presentation? So, you know, that kind of short course will help you on that. Challenging to upload some demo videos. Yes, Judy, have a look at Melissa's blogs and Melissa's information on our website and our Facebook for that, because I believe she's done some really, really good things from there. Question from my friend Sajina: can you build a career from TEFL? She is considering doing one as she loves being abroad but is unsure. You can absolutely build a career from TEFL. I have, and I know many, many, many people who have done so. There are so many different ways you can do it. You can just hop around the world if that's your thing. You can settle down in a certain location and, you know, build up your experience, and then think about going into managerial work or director of studies work, or running language schools, or running summer camps. You know, you can do things like assessments and exams. You can go into teacher training. There's an awful lot of things. It's such a huge career choice you can do. James is ready to purchase. How do I make sure my referral person gets the reward? Message Premier TEFL, the Facebook Messenger, and they will help you out with that, James. When I teach little kids, it's like production of Sesame Street. Yeah, Rebecca, it can be. It can be, but like I said, play to your strengths. Play to your strengths. If that's not for you, if you're finishing 2 hours of doing that and you're just absolutely wrecked, that might not be for you. And you might want to just teach adults. I liked the variety. So when I was teaching online, I might do 3 25-minute lessons that really sapped my energy and I'd feel exhausted. And then I'd have a higher level lesson and I'd have a great conversation about Liverpool football team, or I don't know, some kind of Japanese sculpture or something like that, and that would really give my energy back. Lynn says, do you need a police clearance certificate to teach online? Yes and no. It depends on the country. As a teacher, I recommend you just have one. These are quite varied. Like in England, in the UK at least, you tend to need one for each company that you work for when you work for a British company. I've been places that don't ask for it at all, and I've tried to give it to them and they've been like, oh, okay. And then there's other places, companies, countries that really want it strongly. When I came back from traveling, I needed to get one for the UK, I needed to get one for Germany from my time in Germany, and I need to get one for Thailand there, because they're quite strict on it here, as they should be. In the UK, it's called a DBS. If you look at DBS on the UK Gov website, in other countries, they will have their own versions of it. I recommend just getting one, and if the company want you to get one yourself, then they will pay for it 9 times out of 10. In fact, 99 times out of 100. If they don't, at least you've got it to give them. So I do recommend that. In the UK, you can sign up to something called the DBS service, which means instead of paying for one every year, because it runs out after a year, because you might have got a criminal record in that last year, it's called the update service, and you just pay £13 a year and it just renews automatically. And when a company wants to search you, you just give them your information, like your number and official permission, and they can go and search the back end of it like a company. You can check which companies have checked on you and things like that. So I do recommend that, the DBS update service. Let's have a look here. My teaching station is surrounded in props. Yeah, it is difficult. And what I ended up doing, Rebecca, was always stealing my son's toys, which he was not very happy about. Great to hear advice. Is it useful for someone with 120 hours to take a level 5? So, okay, that's a good question. Mary says, is it useful for someone with 120 hour TEFL to eventually take a level 5? Yes. Yeah, I recommend it. I mean, for those of you who are testing the water, or who want to just get a quick qualification, you know, a fast track thing, 120 is the one. I didn't know when I started if I wanted to be a teacher. I didn't know if I could. Can I, Jacob, stand up in front of a group of people and tell them something? My first contact with anything TEFL was actually not as a teacher. In my final year at university, I was looking for a job, because I always had lots of little jobs. And I noticed a language school in my town in Bournemouth was hiring for an activities supervisor. So what typically happens is students come to language schools, they study in the mornings and then they go on trips in the afternoon. Sometimes they have a barbecue in the evening. They go to London or other cities or attractions on the weekend. So I was actually helping, guiding students. Like we take a coach load of students up to London and show them Big Ben and stuff like that. So that was a big part of how I got into it. So I took the 120 because I just didn't know, would I be good at it? Could I even stand and teach people stuff? You know, do I know enough grammar to actually do this? So the 120 is a great introduction to TEFL. If you are going for those higher level jobs, if you're looking, you know, maybe you've done the 120 and you want to upgrade a little bit, level 5 is the one. Level 5 is equivalent of a CELTA. So CELTA is kind of the in-person industry standard, the kind of month-long course, the one you've heard about. It's a bit tricky, it's a bit stressful, but it's a level 5. So the level 5 online courses, which have just started coming out the last couple of years, and is our flagship course really, and that's the one I look after. That gets you access to the higher paid jobs, the jobs that want a little bit more experience. What's the difference, you know, as far as what Premier TEFL offers between the 120 and the level 5? The course materials are similar, but the level 5 is much more in depth. There's more to it. There's more modules, there's more chapters, there's more meat in there. And the level 5 has multiple choice and open-ended questions. So there's 65 written questions that you need to write about 100 words each for. So whereas the 120 hour is a multiple choice. So you can see already, if you're thinking of a multiple choice test versus a multiple choice and open-ended test, the open-ended test with written answers needs you to have an assessor step in, Jacob, and mark your work. Is that right? Is it wrong? How do you improve it? I absolutely recommend the level 5 if you've taken the 120 and you want to increase your knowledge, you want to have a higher qualification. It's the same level as a CELTA for about, I don't know, 20% of the price, 10% of the price. So it's much, much cheaper. And we offer, on our course at least, lots of support. We have tutor support. What we're going to launch from September onwards is roughly a weekly session, a bit like this that we're doing now, but on Zoom, where you can speak to probably me at least to start with, and ask questions about your assessment. Any specific questions that you have. I don't understand this. What does my tutor mean when they say this in their feedback? So we have a lot of support there. What is the hybrid course? So we have the 120-hour fast track course, Judy. We have the level 5 course, and then we have a hybrid course, and the hybrid is one of these courses, and it is the in-person day or weekend course. Obviously, because of coronavirus, we're not actually doing the in-person ones, but we've taken that weekend course where you would usually have traveled to Ireland or traveled to one of our training centers in the UK or Spain or something, and that's gone online. So we do the training online. So one of the biggest questions people have when doing an online TEFL is, but what about the teaching practice? Okay, I've learned all the information, I understand a lot of stuff, but I haven't taught anyone. So the in-person actually gets you teaching, but the online also does the same. So it's usually done over a couple of days, I think, with breaks, so over a weekend or over a couple of evenings in a week. And you learn how to structure a lesson, how to build it up, and at the end you actually do a lesson. You actually teach the other students, so you can actually turn around and say you have experience in teaching. So that's the hybrid course. It mixes an online self-study, be that level 5 or the 120-hour fast track, and with teaching practice. But at the moment it's online, obviously as and when with the coronavirus problems, that will go back into centres, but I think we will keep it online for a while and maybe have both running. So you could travel and get it in person, or you could do it online, but obviously, you know, everything's a bit up and down now. Do they age discriminate? That's a good question, Judy. When you say they, I'm going to make assumptions on what you mean by they. My experience is no. Some online companies I have come across that want certain ages. You know, sometimes you'll see a job advert that says, you know, teacher wanted age 25 to 50 or something like that. It's often a visa thing. Certain countries might not want to give a working visa to, for example, a 65-year-old. I can't comment on exactly, but I have seen that is a thing. As far as other discrimination, you know, there are certain jobs in the world which will say male only or female only, and actually more common is female only, counterintuitively. I've probably lost, in my capacity as a homestay tutor where I have people in my home, I've probably lost anywhere between 5 and 10 students because I was a male teacher. No hard feelings, but that's just the way it goes. I had a lot of for example, Asian families would only send their child to a female teacher. I had a lovely contract once that fell through, which was I was going to be flown to Libya for 6 weeks to teach a very wealthy family's daughter. But it fell through at the last minute because I was male and because I was young. I'm only 30 now, so unfortunately that didn't go through. But it happens, there's lots of different countries in the world. The rules that are in your specific country might not specifically be the other country, but you have to look at it pragmatically and just be like, hey, well, that wasn't for me, never mind. But I'd say most places don't, but there are sometimes a visa restriction or some kind of preference, but I wouldn't really get worried about it. Rebecca says, where do I find companies that hire for adults? There is a fantastic website. What is it called? Let me have a think. I said about it last time that we were here. There's a really good website, which I'll try and have a think. Maybe someone at Premier TEFL can help me, where you can search a repository of lots and lots and lots of different online English providers. Let me have a little think. If I can't remember it during the webinar, and if it doesn't come up, I will put it in the comments on our Facebook page after the webinar. I talked about it last month in my webinar there, but it's a really good repository. But if you just search online companies or online TEFL companies, something like that, you'll do a good job. Recommended platforms for teaching adults online. Again, have a look on that. I couldn't recommend one specifically. It depends. Jacob, did you complete the business English course if you taught business English? So when I started, I took some extra modules, a bit like we offer the 30 hours, and business was one of them. It just gave me a brief overview of business. I have taught a lot of business English. The capacity that I've taught business English is usually 1-to-1. So when students have come to study in my house, often they want to do business. I've had especially people from Poland, from Germany, from Switzerland, Italy, business people. So yes, lots and lots and lots, but it's usually based around some kind of function to be able to complete a meeting, do a presentation. So, often it's like to be more confident. It's like this person's really confident in Italian, but put them in English and their confidence just drops. So when they have to do that meeting, they're really not there. So I always do things like, I'll say to them, I say, what do you want to do today? And they'll say, okay, we'll go to a museum. So I sit down and I plan what kind of language, and I kind of explain it to them like they're going to listen to me, but I get them to plan out what we could say, what they could hear. And quite often I call and I go, right, here we go. And they're on the phone and somebody says hello, and I give them the phone, and then they're forced into this situation where they have to use that English, but without the prior stress. So they always hate me for it. But when they finish the phone call or whatever it is, or we go to a shop and I say, right, I've got to go back to the car, can you go and get the tickets? And they're forced into that situation where they need to practice. The confidence goes down, then it goes up, and they're very happy because they've overcome some fear of speaking with people, especially on the telephone, because telephone is hard in your language, let alone in a foreign language. So yes, lots and lots of business. It's good if you enjoy that kind of thing. Then I recommend what if I want to be a trainer for IELTS? Okay, so Henry Pike, if you're talking about trainer as in teacher, then that's pretty wide, that's pretty vague. So anytime you have a student who wants to study IELTS, then you can be a trainer. If you want to be an examiner, like an official Cambridge IELTS examiner, then that's different. You usually do that through your school. So there's two types of examiners really. There is the speaking examiner or the written examiner. The written tests are usually online, so you would kind of go to IELTS directly, but the speaking examiner are through accredited centres, so it will depend on your centre there. Right, so let me have a look at some more. Let me have a look. Oh, good. I'm a bit behind on the comments here. There's loads. Thank you guys for chipping in a lot today. Do you recommend level 5? Yes, Judy, as I said before, I do recommend level 5. If nothing else, even if you have lots of experience, you have 11 years, it will polish up any skills. TEFL is a fluid industry. It's a fluid idea. It's a fluid methodology. When you study teaching English, TEFL, EFL, you'll know that in the last 100 years it's changed a lot from the old grammar translation methods where you sit down and just translate things, the audiolingual method where people were just not writing anything, they were just listening. There's things like the natural way where you just try and imitate natural language. So the ideologies and the methodologies have changed a lot, and they do change a lot. Now it's all about communication, the communicative approaches, and it's all about how to get your learners talking. It's all this PPP, but there's a lot of research and information now going, actually, is PPP the best way? That's good for grammar, but does that get that student using it? Where's the practice time? Where's the production? So it will get you at least up to date with what's happening in the classroom now. So I do recommend it. Let's have a look. Oh, I've jumped a little bit here. Right, level 5. Have you ever considered being an IELTS trainer? So, yeah, I mean, I've taught a lot of IELTS. Actually, last September, I had a student from China who came and studied in my house for 7 months and then left for coronavirus, and I finished off teaching him online 3 weeks ago, something like that. So I took him for nearly a year, 11 months or 10 and a half months, something like that, for IELTS. And I've had lots and lots of people similar to that for shorter, like month-long courses or online courses. Personally, I do like the exams. I do like the IELTS exams, the Cambridge First, the Cambridge Advanced, Proficiency, those kind of ones, which is, why I do assessments, really. I like exams because students have a tangible result. So when you teach, for example, general English, it's like, do you feel different if you're B1 or B2, or intermediate or upper intermediate? Probably not. The students kind of say, oh yeah, I guess I'm better. And as a teacher, you can hear it. The exams tell students, I am this level. When people come to me, I'll give you an example. I had a Polish guy who came for 3 months 2 years ago. He did a month and a half, then stopped, and then came back a little bit later for a month and a half. And I said, look, your English is very good. He was at least advanced level. I said, why don't you get something to prove your English, to prove your level? And I said, do the Cambridge Advanced, because the Cambridge Advanced test stays with you forever. The IELTS is more for getting to university, getting a visa, that kind of thing. It's temporary. So if you get a band 8 in IELTS, in 2 years it's gone. It doesn't count anymore. Whereas something like the Cambridge First or Cambridge Advanced or Proficiency, that stays with you for life. It's a lifelong qualification. So he went and did that in the end, and he got his advanced, and he was very, very happy. So I do like teaching them. They're good. But, it depends. Some people prefer like the business courses. There are things like business equivalent exams, and some people just want to speak. I've had people that say, I don't want to learn grammar. I don't want to do this or this or this. I want you to show me vocabulary, and we can sit down and chat. And we just chat, and we try and pull some language out of it, and they're incidentally taught grammar and things along the way. My partner is Polish, and she will not listen to a thing I say about grammar. Everything is done by listening and just by repeating, and real life, real world situations there. So it absolutely is. But yeah, I mean, I thought about personally IELTS. I do my assessments here. As I don't work in a school, at least currently, I have in the past, then that's not an option, because usually you do it through the schools. And if you want to be an examiner, or you do it the written examining through Cambridge themselves. So that's an important thing to bear in mind. But IELTS, there's always going to be a huge queue of people waiting to study IELTS. If you're somebody who's interested in teaching exams, there's always going to be a lot of people, especially the Chinese market, but from all over the world. But the Chinese interest in IELTS is absolutely huge, and they spend tens of thousands getting ready for IELTS, some of them. Okay, let's have a look at a few more questions there before we finish up for today, guys. You've all been very good, very, very patient. there was a lot of questions about the level 5, so I'll just finish up by having a brief chat about the level 5. It's not something to be feared, you know. Yes, it is more in depth, it's more difficult than the 120 hour, but then you gain that knowledge, you gain that information. It is enjoyable, the course is enjoyable. You have communication with your tutor that you can ask questions to if you have a problem. If you have a big problem, you can come through to me. Like I said, we're going to start a level 5 kind of weekly Zoom check-in video, a video call, or just a bit like this, but a chance for people who are taking the level 5 to actually just ask a few questions, things that you want a spoken answer for rather than a written answer for. So we have the support there in place to help you guys out. If you're thinking about it, go for it. I would say the 120 is fantastic. It's a test the water qualification. It is a let's see how it goes kind of thing. Me personally, I'm the sort of person who starts off thinking where I can go on a Friday afternoon because it's sunny, and then within half an hour I'm planning a trip to Thailand or south of France because I go one more. So when I look for a qualification, I look at the 120 and I'm like, oh, there's a level 5. I can do something higher. So if you're that type of person, absolutely go for it. Don't worry if you're a bit nervous about it. There's support there. There's no set time frame to finish the first assessment. So usually you get 6-month access, but I'm pretty sure, well, you can buy a lifetime access, and I'm pretty sure the level 5 comes with the lifetime access anyway. So you could take, 3, 6, 12 months to finish if you want. It's not a problem. Only when you do your reassessments do we start putting actually some times in there and things like that. But we're very, very flexible. So I would say have a look. If you're interested at all, contact us, email us, send us a message on Facebook. Contact our lovely Sandra or any of the Premier TEFL staff who'd be very, very happy to explain it, to give you a call or whatnot. And yeah, just come and give us a go, really. So let me have a look here. I'll do one more question because I think it's a great question. How do I find Chinese students online for IELTS or other students? So final parting advice. If you're starting out online, then find a company. There are IELTS companies that just do IELTS. I get, go on TEFL.com. I get these emails every day about various types of positions in person and online. And I've had one for 3 times in the last week that asked for IELTS tutors. So go and have a look on there. If you are going to teach the exams, have a look at the exams. Do it yourself. When I sit with my students, be it online or in person, when they do a question, I do a question. It keeps me sharp. It keeps me understanding what they're asking for. It keeps me understanding what kind of stress people go through with the time constraints and things like that. So have a look online. Linda had to pay for the extension. Okay, yeah, I think that's pretty normal. I think we give 6 months and then there's an extra one, but don't quote me on that completely. Listen, guys, thank you so much. I hope that it's been interesting. I hope it's been fun. And if you have any questions about anything at all with our courses, then just contact the office, email us, send us a message on Facebook, Instagram, or any of the above. And keep an eye out for any future webinars, guys. So it's been a pleasure. Thank you all so much for logging on. I hope you're not too hot wherever you are, and I hope you're able to get out and about and staying safe in these strange coronavirus times. But no matter, the TEFL world will survive. Thank you all. Take care, and I'll catch you up soon. Bye.